So everybody knows the gecko Patient Zero. He is a piebald crested gecko. But what if I told you he isn't the only piebald out there? Fucking boom! Introducing Frankenstein. Now Frankenstein is a piebald crested gecko. Now he is a low white pied. He does only have a little bit of white pattern down here by his tail. And the interesting thing about him too is there's parts of him that are translucent, or they're missing a couple scales, and that's right here underneath his basically his bulge. But this guy is one of the weirdest geckos I own, and I've kept him under wraps for a long time just because I wasn't sure what it is. Obviously Patient Zero never proved out to be anything. Maybe he won't ever prove out to be anything, but of course we're gonna try. Another interesting trait that Frankenstein has is his black eyes. So he is a phantom crested gecko. Now phantom gargoyle geckos are all over the place. Well, I shouldn't say all over the place, but they're out there. Phantom crested geckos, not so common. It's very, very rare, and he just happens to be a phantom crested gecko along with all this piebald and translucent light skin. So he has three really interesting things going for him that I think might prove out. So this is why one of my close friends, he was actually owned by Eslin from Crazy Red Geckos. A lot of you guys will remember him. He used to be here big in Miami and South Florida. One of the pioneers of Super Stripes. Then he went to actually the people who make our shirts, PIED Cresties. They also bred a lot of crested geckos, but they never did anything with him. He was never bred until he came here. We are partnering up with Fahlo and Save the Elephants to bring you guys these cool little bracelets. When you purchase one of these bracelets, 10% of their net profits are donated to Save the Elephants in Kenya, which specializes in elephant research and works to protect wild elephants. Use my code TikisGeckos20 to place your order at myfollow.com. Alright guys, so I just want to show you in better detail how cool this gecko is. Now, if you look underneath him, you could see that low white pied coloration. Obviously, Patient Zero has this all over his body, so this might just be a low pied form of him. But if you look closely, there's also like bits and pieces of his underside that look like they're missing scales. Now I think that is from like something translucent, or I don't know exactly what it could be. That's why we're breeding them, to find out, and that's why it's so exciting. Obviously the dark eyes, there's just so many things going on that are odd with this gecko that make me think that maybe one of these things we could reproduce. I'm really excited to see. I mean, this gecko is just an absolute killer animal. Even just the base coloration on this animal is very unlike any of my other geckos. Could he be a one-off? I don't know. Could he be something that we could replicate and make more of, and with selective breeding make that pied pattern even bigger, or maybe that translucent scales even bigger, or those black eyes? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. I'm gonna show you right now the babies that we hatched from him. So these are the first two hatchlings that we got from that pair. Now it's interesting because one of these guys is a yellow base and the other one is kind of like a dark or a lavender base. This one over here has more of like a flame pattern with a lot of brindling. You know, from looking at these geckos underneath them, they don't have any of that piebaldism that you see with the dad. Now looking at the second one, also nothing underneath. Pretty interesting tail pattern, but you know, other than that, it's a pretty normal gecko. So these are the first two babies that we hatched from the piebald Frankenstein and his lady Patchy. We did hatch two other ones, and these are both dark bases. These are actually a little bit nicer. They're a little younger too. These two here, they're showing, one is also a yellow and one is also looking like a dark. Neither one of these is showing piebaldism, but this one does have a really interesting line going underneath the tail. There's so many little subtle differences with some of these morphs that could lead to something, as we saw with the cappuccinos and stuff. But yeah, this guy doesn't have anything crazy going on underneath, but they're still just absolutely beautiful geckos. We're gonna raise these guys up. We're gonna see if we breed them back to each other, they produce anything super special. I'm hoping they do. As of right now, you know, we're just waiting. So out of 4 babies, all 4 came out looking normal. So the female that I bred Frankenstein to is this girl right here, and she actually looks pretty normal from, you know, first glance. One thing that's pretty interesting about her is that side patch right there. She has like a white paradox patch on her side, which is unlike anything that she's, you know, from her lines. She doesn't have any white at all. It's just like basic yellow partial pinstripes. This is just like a little oddball thing that I found, and I was like, why not pair him to another oddball? Now, I have hatched babies from these two. Now the babies all look normal as of right now. So what we have to do is I'll have to breed this guy to another female, produce babies from them, and then cross the babies from this female and the other female to see if there is anything recessive that is in this gecko that could be passed down. Maybe it's the piebald, maybe it's the dark eyes, maybe it's the translucent type skin. We don't know yet, so this is a project that I'm super excited about. This gecko just overall is very, very odd. He is like a light salmon pink, and he really doesn't change color much. And like I said, all that bottom, there's parts of his scales in the bottom that just look like his scales got ripped off. But I think that's part of being translucent. So now with all the cappuccinos and the super cappuccinos and the sables and all these new morphs that are coming out, I thought, okay, I definitely have to breed this guy. I have to see if maybe he's a het for something, if this is a recessive mutation. So we should find out in about 2 to 3 years if this is an actual mutation or is it a flop. All right, guys, so now you know one of my top secret crested gecko projects for 2022, but you know, this is a project that's gonna take a couple years. So if you wanna follow along what's happening with Frankenstein and his offspring, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification. I am super stoked to see what we could do with this animal. And if nothing proves out, then he is just one of my best looking animals that I have. Just an oddball of it, a crested gecko, and I couldn't be happier to have him here with me. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.